What's up, what's up? I'm Dr. Omatma, host of Egg Meets Sperm, where we're busting fertility myths, sharing tangible tips for your fertility journey, and bringing you the most knowledgeable guests to support your journey to parenthood. This podcast is for both women and men because getting fertile as fuck is for both partners, don't you think? Remember, just listening to this podcast won't get you pregnant, but following the tips we share just may. Let's get you fertile AF so that you can co-create the family you dream of. And if your partner's not listening to this, make sure to share this episode with your partner. Hello and welcome to Egg Meets Sperm. I'm your host, Dr. Omatma, and joining me today is Julie Michelson. She is a national board-certified functional medicine health coach, best-selling author, international speaker, and the host of the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity Podcast. She's the founder of Julie Michelson Coaching and the co-founder of Navigate Wellness. Through her journey of overcoming more than a decade of decline with rheumatoid arthritis, she became passionate about functional medicine and using lifestyle to create healing. Julie is an expert in supporting others achieve the changes necessary to experience true wellness. I am so excited to have you here today, Julie.
Thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here.
Wonderful. So we have a very interesting topic to get into, which is reducing toxic burden to optimize pregnancy. I know that this is important on so many levels. I feel like the toxins that babies are exposed to even before they're born is tremendous, right? And
Yes.
it was one of those statistics that actually made me like, oh my God, we need to do something about fertility. And that statistic was like 287 toxins found in cord blood at birth.
Yes. Because before,
and that was 10 years ago. So
yeah. And before that study, I really do think in general, we thought like, oh, the placenta is this amazing filter and that baby is just so protected and cocooned. And now we know that is not the case.
Yeah. And there's really like a back and forth between baby and mom.
Yes.
So
Sure.
yeah, so it's really like you are co-synchronized or something. There's must be some fancy word for this of like how you're synergistically like navigating life together during that 9 months.
Absolutely. And I mean, this is their home, right? We are their home for that 9 months, which 10 months, really.
10,
come on.
technically, yeah. Totally. It sounds weird when I say 10 months. I don't know why. But when I was like, I don't know why. I
when
never
you're pregnant,
really thought about it.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant, they were like, oh yeah, so 10 months from now. And I'm like, so why do we call pregnancy 9 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some male doctor decided we should say 9 months, I think, to make it sound more appealing.
Sounds cooler for sure.
Yeah,
10 months,
sure.
not as cool, apparently.
There's no woman that would be like, oh, 40 weeks, that's 9 months. Sure.
Right.
So, but yeah, if you think about, I mean, you are their home, right? And so, we know we're all bombarded, and that was kind of my whole goal for our chat today is that, we need to know what kind of toxic burden we have, and we can't just walk around without making effort to reduce it. And it is reducible. I mean, it sounds so doom and gloom when we start to talk about toxins because it's in the air and the water and everything.
Literally everything.
Literally everything. And so, living in a bubble is not an option. But that's why I really like addressing toxic burden. I think of it as, now I'm going to date myself, a seesaw or a teeter-totter. I don't even know if those are still on playgrounds.
The seesaws, yes.
Yeah, okay.
We still have those.
we want to reduce our load so that we can be resilient, right? And when it comes to when you're getting ready to work on fertility and planning your family, there's no like, tomorrow I'm going to reduce my toxins and it'll be better. It's a process. And this is the perfect time to do it. And sometimes that idea of the baby is more motivating than doing it just for yourself to optimize your own health. So I love jumping in at that kind of fertility conversation of like, okay, extra motivator here. We want to, it's cleaning house, right? You want to clean your house, your body for the baby. And then we'll talk about your actual house in a minute.
Awesome. So let's talk for a second about how do we figure out if we have toxin burden, right? Because a lot of times women are like, no, I don't have that issue. And I'm like, yeah, let's figure that out.
I say, if we're on this planet and we just were discussing it used to be, we thought, of course, if you're, the more decades you're on the planet, the more toxins you may accumulate. Now we know that babies can be born with a high burden. And this is why I so believe in testing. Because a lot of people that see me, if they're coming in with autoimmunity or chronic illness, we know toxins are a factor. It's just a matter of how big of a factor. And like you said, often there's years and years and years before it's creating illness where people think, I'm fine. I
feel healthy.
Yeah,
I eat healthy.
Fine. And the other thing I hear all the time is, no, I'm really careful about my exposure. And we all have different ideas of what that, it's like when people tell me I have a clean diet. Well, I'm like, okay, what does that really mean to you? What do you eat? And so testing is key, to know what's going on in there. And then again, for that it is a long process to detox. And when you have seen those labs in print in front of you, what is going on in your body, if you can't feel it, it's really important, motivation to stick with reducing your burden.
Yeah. So a lot of times I've heard women say, I've already done a detox. So can we talk for a second about the detoxes?
I am not talking about like a juice cleanse or a product kit that you're going to, use for a month or, really, we're always detoxing. I mean, that our body is designed, every breath we take, we're detoxing through our sweat, our urine, our poop. And it's just a process that needs to be always optimized and always going on. And so when I talk about detox, again, it's this balance of supporting those systems, because so many of us genetically are predisposed not to detox well. I'm one of those. I call myself a collector. Like, I mean, literally, there's not a toxin I've met that I haven't tried to hang on to. So sometimes, it's supporting, your detox pathways, your liver, your lymph system, your lymphatic system. And then the flip side is which is, I think, where the real power comes from also, is reducing that burden and creating a better balance so that your body can keep up. And like I said, since we can't avoid the exposures, you want to be able to take the hit and bounce back. And so, it's not like a fad. It's not a fast thing. As a matter of fact, even like a quote unquote medical, anything you do to detox, if you try to go too fast, you're going to make yourself really sick.
Yeah.
And that's really important for people to understand. That's why people are like, oh, this detox thing is terrible. I've worked with people that even just supplementing with some glutathione, which sounds like a great idea. Most of us probably could use extra. Literally just adding in glutathione is too much for them to handle. And I'm like, wait, what? But you need that. So so like you said, it depends on, we've got cycles in our detox pathways, and not everybody gets hung up in the same place. And so it is really key. But slow and boring, like whatever it is, you shouldn't feel it, right? It shouldn't, if you're doing something with the intention of detoxing and you can feel it, meaning, it's, even if it makes you feel like you have brain fog or achy, or for the people I work with, it'll flare their autoimmune symptoms. Stop, like, no, you need to go
intense.
too intense. Too intense.
Yeah. And then the other piece is, let's talk about for a second, is when to do a detox prior to conception, right? Please, 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 for those of you listening, you're not doing a detox while you're pregnant. Like, don't think that you're doing this while you're pregnant.
No. So kind of back to that whole, it can make you feel sick. The reason it can make you feel sick is, I think of, to like really simplify the phases. We've got, at first the body will dump the toxins and then you excrete them. And a lot of us don't excrete them and they get recycled in the gut and they're put back in the bloodstream. That's when you feel sick. So think about that. Like, you don't want to be doing anything like that while you're pregnant, because you're just slamming that baby with extra toxins. And a lot of people don't realize that the body stores most of our toxins in our fat, and that's a safety mechanism. It's like locking them in the closet. Like, there they are. And yes, we do want to get them out, but absolutely not while we're pregnant. I think everybody should be mindfully detoxing all the time, but if something you haven't started with, I would say, obviously, if they're not even thinking about conceiving yet, they're not listening to the podcast. So, but hopefully if they're in that, like, I want to optimize my health, to optimize my pregnancy, now is the time. Like yesterday, start your detox yesterday, so that by the time you are ready to conceive, those levels are low.
Yeah. And the general rule of thumb for those of you listening is 3 months minimum between like actively finishing your detox and when you start trying. And like, presumably you're not getting pregnant on the first try, but sometimes that happens. So we're not taking any risks.
Right.
And we just want to make sure that that's like further out than most
you
people
think it should be.
Yeah. And it's hard because as soon as we want to get pregnant, we already want to be pregnant, right?
Sure.
So it's that time period in between, like when you decide you want to have a baby and when you actually like start trying to conceive, just leaving a little bit of space in between those two. And again, like slowing it down a little bit.
Which again is tough. It is when somebody feels like they're ready. I think of it again, like baby proofing your home, right? Like when that baby starts, you're not going to wait until they're sticking fingers in sockets to baby proof. You're going to do that before the mobile, hopefully. So it's the same thing, right? Like as soon as you have that idea, like, okay, soon, I mean, ideally it would be soon we'll be ready to start a family. This is the time to do your detox.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do we need to be aware of as we're potentially doing a detox?
I would say again that the low and slow, right? Boring, not noticeable. You want to think of the basics. I mentioned all those ways we're detoxing all the time, continuously. So really you want to make sure you're hydrating. Because the whole point is we want the toxins out. So you want to focus on that excretion, make sure you're really hydrating, make sure that you're moving your bowels really regularly. And that doesn't mean if it's normal, quote unquote, for you to only go to the bathroom 3 times a week. No, that's not enough to clear your toxins. You need to be regular. Sweating, you need to be sweating. And that can just be through exercise. I'm a big fan of infrared sauna, but it's not necessary. keeping your something like dry brushing or rebounding. You just want to make sure that you're getting all of that out. That's for me always the biggest focus. And there's always an make sure you're sleeping really well, because that's a really important part of our detox process, and our brain is detoxing in our sleep.
Oh, wow. Yes. Is there more? Like, do you have some other things that you want to share about that?
As far as like all the 1,000,001 reasons we should detox?
Yeah.
So here's the flip side, still directly related to maybe not the pregnancy, but to parenthood.
Yeah.
Right? Is we also want to be healthy and vibrant and well to raise that baby.
Yeah.
Right. And toxins are a driving factor in chronic illness. And so, I know when you're like ready to have the baby, you're not thinking necessarily 10, 20 years down the road, 30. I joke. I have a friend who's like, oh, it's a commitment for 18 years. I'm like, sure. My kids are all in their 20s. My very independent adults, we're never, hopefully we're never done.
Right. So, hopefully they want to continue being like mom.
Yes. Oh, yes. So that's again, sometimes harder to keep your eye on the ball like that far out, but we want to protect baby and we want to protect our relationship with baby as they grow. And they're going to learn as they grow from you. It's always, do as I say, not as I do is not really a thing. They're gonna model you. And so if you're starting to create those habits now of protecting yourself and reducing that toxic burden, that's just going to become normal to them. My daughter won't use plastic. Like you couldn't make her use plastic. Won't. Like it's not a thing. Like she's like, no.
How old is she?
She's 23.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
But she also, when she turned 21, was drinking dry farm wine in college. So again, they learn what they see, right? Yeah. Like that's and she has had health struggles. And so she understands the impact it has. So, I would say to for your own longevity, in addition to that health and wellness of that baby.
Yeah, and we see that all the time is like when we're working with people, we're constantly like, their question is, okay, so when can I stop doing this thing? And I'm like,
why would you?
Why? Like, tell me what's not better about what you're doing. And they're like, well, everything's better. Like, well,
when do you want it to be worse again? Yeah.
Why would you stop?
It's so true.
It's really fascinating how the human brain works. But I love this idea of like what you're doing, the things that you're doing pre-conception, through pregnancy, through postpartum, and really like you're entrenching your child in these behavior patterns for their life. So they're going to do whatever it is that you model for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's such a gift, right? I mean, really, like for me, when I look at, my kids, my daughter is probably the most careful of all the kids, but, and I look at those choices that aren't even choices for her. It becomes like they're normal. And I just look at, if we think of what our toxic exposure is now, somebody who's working on fertility right now, imagine the amount of exposures these babies that are being born in the next few years are going to have throughout their lifetime. So the more we can set them up to be managing that from day one, and especially set them up not to be born with a high toxic burden already, it's just gold. It really is.
Yeah. Gosh, so much.
I get so excited. I'm such a geek. I get so excited about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to talk about any specific toxins that are maybe not in our awareness often?
I Here's the one that's recent as far as I'm sure listeners are familiar with BPA and they're familiar with the fact that it's not good for you. Um, and it's no longer really used in water bottles and food containers and things like that because it is, we all know, it's toxic. But there was just a study released recently, and actually a client sent it to me, and I was like, what? It is one of the ones that even my quote unquote careful clients, when we do testing, BPA pops high a lot.
Mhm.
And there's a few others that do, but we don't have enough hours for the conversation. And everybody is like, but I don't use plastic, or I don't use BPA. So the two places we're getting exposed really commonly, three places. One is, I said it's not in our food containers, but it is still, it's in can liners.
Yep.
So if you're eating any kind of canned food, like I'm a fan of coconut milk, you've got to make sure that you're buying products that are labeled BPA free. If it's not labeled BPA free, you can assume there's BPA in that can. So that's a biggie. And store receipts is another big one. They're just covered in it. And that I think a lot of people know by now. But the new one that totally blew me away, that I think specifically for your audience is so important to know, is workout clothing. The
Yes,
study that
I've been
came
on
out with the top 10 brands of it. These are, this isn't
this,
like bargain basement.
Lululemon. Yeah.
Yes, the like all the big popular brands.
Yeah.
So your yoga pants, your sports bras, I'm saying, oh, I want you to sweat. I don't want you to sweat in BPA garments
Yeah.
because it's against your skin and you're absorbing all those toxins. So
Yeah.
I don't actually have a brilliant answer for the workout clothing
Yeah.
piece yet, because it's kind of it's a newer revelation.
Yeah. And honestly, it's really hard to find non-plastic clothing.
Yes.
I did a whole video on this. I like literally went through my closet and I was like, which one of these things is pure cotton? And I literally don't have anything.
Yeah, it's so true. It gets harder and harder as time goes on.
Yeah, and like fashion and like the whole
Yeah.
thing. This actually, I bought this shirt because it is cotton.
Yay.
I was like, ooh, a wholly cotton shirt. Yes, please.
No synthetics. I love it.
But what's really interesting, because I was on a panel talking about this recently, is like men aren't dealing with this. If you think about what men wear on average, it's a t-shirt, 100% cotton, and jeans, also 100% most of the time, unless they're like stretchy or whatever,
which most
is mostly cotton.
Shouldn't be.
Most of them are not wearing that. However, for female fashion, it's a whole different story.
Right.
It's like, oh, it's cool and sexy to wear garbage bags. Like, what?
Right.
How is this cool and sexy? It's not.
It's so true. Well, it's like, have you ever ordered, I live kind of in the country, and I'm not a huge shopping fan anyway. So I'll order stuff online, and it has happened before. And again, my daughter, because she's like my mini me, where you open the box and you can smell whether it's the dye or you can't wash that out of it. Like nope, it's got to go. Can't have it. So, but here's why I talk about toxic burden and not living in a bubble, right? So I'm not telling you not to work out, right? Or to work out in clothes that are uncomfortable, or not to have a nice elastic panel in your maternity pants. Like,
right, all the needs.
Let's be serious. This is why every other place we can reduce the exposure and then be aware, like, okay, I'm gonna wear the yoga pants. Yeah, that's fine.
Totally. And like, you can not be in them all day, right? So you can say, okay, like I did my yoga, I worked out, did whatever I needed to. I'm gonna come home, take that off, take a shower, it's off of me, right?
Right.
Like it's not
And that's key, the
soaking
shower
in.
part
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, not, and no judgment on because you worked out, but when we work out and we're sweating, those toxins are coming out, they're sitting on our skin. So
Mhm.
you want, instead of getting them reabsorbed, you want to
Mhm.
be showering. And so it would be the same thing if you've got, that sports bra and yoga pants on, for sure, showering when you change is ideal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I
It's
think
the
there's
basics, but we don't talk about the basics enough.
absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I think the clothing piece is going to become in so much more awareness now that I feel like it's just the beginning. Like we're finding out it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
And yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to add to what you said about the cans and
Mm-hmm.
like the lining of cans, my concern has been the BPA free cans still have a lining.
What's in them? I know
It's
that's
still
the next.
lining.
What is in them? I have no
And
idea.
well,
Yeah.
so I dug into that a little bit and it's BPS or BPF.
Okay. So it's
And
just as bad.
they're actually worse. BPS and BPF are worse. So now we like are in this place of like everything says BPA free,
Right.
but
There's
now we're
all,
potentially
and
like exposed to more garbage.
yeah,
And
and
like
that's a whole nother, that's why, and it's tricky. I mean, I guess I could make my own coconut milk. I'm probably not going to.
mhm, yeah,
It's
you
probably
pick and
also like
choose.
the only canned food in our house that we use.
Yeah.
But it's the same. I'm so glad you brought that up because it's such a pet peeve of mine where people, again, with plastic water bottles and but it's BPA free. And it's like, okay, but
Yeah,
it has
no, they're
7
not.
other toxic chemicals in it
Yeah.
that the public hasn't demanded are taken out of the food system
Mhm.
yet because people just don't know. There's too many of them to keep track of.
Yeah, and it's almost like my concern has become to the point of like all the things that say X something free,
Oh my gosh.
right? Like
There was a vegetable product the other day I saw that was marked vegan. And I'm like, okay, it's a vegetable. Of
yeah,
course
like
it's
I don't
vegan.
need a label
So
on
like,
that.
I feel like the more they're trying to tell you on the label, the more I'm like, I don't
should
think
I be
want
concerned?
that. If it
Yeah.
says natural or healthy or green or clean or,
Yeah.
and that would be another tip is whatever it is, whether it's food or a cleaning product, a personal care product, read the back. The front is just marketing. Read the
Totally.
back. Yeah.
Totally.
And I totally agree with you. I feel like kind of the more they say it, then they're hiding other stuff.
Yeah, and I am irate because
Yep.
I literally have worked so hard to get my husband on board with switching all of our products to more natural. So he's like, okay, I guess we can buy Myers. It's at Target. I can pick it up whenever. And now we can't use Myers.
Nope.
And like getting him to change yet another time is going to be this whole thing. So it's frustrating as a consumer to constantly be in this like, are you serious? You too?
Right.
And like, and you think like all this time you've been doing well, and you are like, Myers is still, let's be real, is still very much better than Tide or whatever,
Which
right?
one is she going to say, Tide or all? Right.
Or
the blue dish soap. I'm like, oh no, the blue dish soap.
Oh yeah,
Don't
totally.
use
And
that.
I can't even like when I go to someone's house and I'm like, I totally want to help you wash your dishes, but do you have gloves? Because I'm not gonna touch this soap.
It's so true. I take like if we're have an Airbnb or we're traveling,
oh yeah,
I take dish soap with me.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. I'm crazy, and I'm like, it's like, just my routine now.
Absolutely. You can smell a lot of those soaps and conditioners and like essentially anything that smells amazing or smells like weirdly good is like, oh, you don't want that. You don't want to be around that. You don't want to smell it.
that was what popped into my head when we were talking about the kind of the greenwashing and anything with the word fragrance in the label, even if it's marketed as clean, green, natural. Fragrance is a catch-all word. They could have up to a dozen chemicals in there.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean like, oh, it's probably essential oils because this is a clean product. If it's essential oils, it'll say so.
Yeah.
So I say run from anything. Like you said, if it smells too good, it's like like food that doesn't lose its flavor, like a gum that lasts for 5 hours. Well, because there's not one single real ingredient in there. Nothing, that's not, So things aren't supposed to smell like that.
All the things that smell good, those are the things that say fragrance are essentially phthalates. I know you know this. I'm saying it for the listeners.
No, do it. Sing it, sister.
And phthalates are so toxic for fertility. It's like one of my top 3 for fertility. So absolutely, like I can geek out on this stuff all day.
Oh yeah. And I joke, I used to have literally my house was loaded with scented candles. I loved them. And I'm like, no wonder I was so sick.
Yeah. It's like we don't think about it. And the candles, like even I have seen some like essential oil candles. Even those, I'm like, I don't know if I want to be burning this. And the less, I have been actively like clearing this stuff out because my husband is like, I want everything to smell good. And he's always got like some fragrance soap and whatever. And I'm like, oh, you smell so good, but get away from me.
Like, you smell good, but I know it's toxic.
You like...
I love, and you just hit on it. It's a process.
Yeah.
This cleaning up, and we could do a whole nother episode on cleaning up your house. And it can seem really overwhelming. And so just changing things out one at a time. And it is tougher if you have a partner who's not on board. It's trickier. I actually just finally got one of my clients' husbands to do a toxin panel because she really needed to clean up the products in the home, and he was so he loved his detergent, the pods, and he loved all his products.
The convenience of all the things.
Yes.
And gosh, and then like, but it works better.
Like,
right. It does not.
So stick with it. Keep fighting the good fight. You'll get him smelling truly good and not falsely good soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a process, and it's gonna be probably a lifelong process because the more we realize and the more we like relax and like, oh, we've got it covered, and then something else comes out, or you switch something and you didn't even realize, like, oh crap, like they changed their label.
I was just
what are we doing about that?
I hate to like throw another layer. That happened to me this year. I was using a dishwasher detergent that I really liked. Oh no, it was a dish soap, a liquid dish soap. And I had researched it when I first started using it. We've been using it for a long time. I picked it up to read to a client as we were working on toxins, and they added sodium lauryl sulfate to it. It hadn't been in there years ago, so they changed their formulation. And none of us are really going to read every label every time if we're buying the same product. But it is a good idea to revisit, because that was another one that I was like, oh.
And I think like a good tip there is like when you see a label refreshed, right? That's like, to me, it's always a little bit of like a pattern interrupt to be like, did they change something? Because they didn't just like refresh the label. Like most companies are using tactics to like, oh, new and improved. Let me check that out. Like new and improved usually means you're making more money chemicals. And we're getting more chemicals.
And one more, because I can't stop myself. When it comes to detergent, if you're buying something like free and clear or unscented because you think that's cleaner, it's not. Unscented, they actually add more chemicals to like it's insane. Like so just and I'm sure you talk about resources. I'll throw out there though for people because it can be really overwhelming. And like you said, like with the Mrs. Myers, we really do need to check on the companies we're using and the products that we're using. And so my two resources I like to use personally are ewg.org and Think Dirty app. Neither one is perfect, but it's sure better than me taking 5 hours to figure out what detergent is okay for me to get.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. Do you have some companies that you love and rely on?
My favorite company, I'm like as geeky as I get on the science and the wellness piece. I am not a make your own cleaning products gal in my own home. I'm not.
Yeah.
There's a company called Attitude. It's a Canadian company.
Okay.
They make everything from, body wash and lotion to detergent and all kinds of household cleaning products. And their whole company is EWG certified, like their whole line. So you don't have to worry product to product to product.
Yeah.
If so that's one of my favorites for cleaning stuff, because their stuff smells good for like a minute, like it should, and then you can't smell it at all. And so it's not the days of old where when something was clean, it was kind of maybe gross and maybe didn't work that well. There's so many good products out there, but personally, I like those kind of companies where, the whole company is about truly marketing clean products. So that's one of my favorites.
Nice. Cool. I'll have to check them out. I have been checking out Branch Basics to replace all of the household stuff that needs replacing for us.
Yes.
So that one is the one I'm on to right now. I'm doing some like, okay, what are we switching to? Because Myers is a no-go.
We need something new.
Right. Yeah. And so I know a lot of people have been talking about Branch Basics. I think there's wellness.
Yes, with an E on the end, wellness. Yes.
That's from
a good
Wellness
one.
Mama, and they just launched a couple of products. They don't have like a full line of replacement for household things, but they have some amazing products as well. So we'll put some resources.
The Honest company. It's been around for a long time. They've got cleaning products and stuff.
Are they safe?
So here's some of them.
Yeah, I've read some of their ingredients and I was like, this is not honest at all.
This is
but
dishonest.
Maybe that was just me.
Well, no, and I think again that's where it depends on that. That's not one of the companies where across the board you can order anything from them.
Yeah.
Definitely they're a step above what you're going to grab at the grocery store, including the Mrs. Myers for sure. But you're right. If you're like me, and it sounds like you are, like where you would just want like one place where you can get all your stuff. Yeah, Branch Basics is great. Attitude is great. Attitude even makes like baby wash and baby detergent and baby balm.
Cool.
So they've got kind of the whole family covered. I'm not an affiliate. I'm just a fan.
No, I mean, it's good to be affiliates, but it's at the end of the day, we just need good quality stuff.
Right. Well, and I do, there are sometimes I'll find a product or company that I love so much that, then I'll be an affiliate. I'm happy to support because I like connecting people to good stuff. But I just felt like I sounded like an affiliate, but I'm not. I don't even know if they have affiliates. I should see.
Yep. This is awesome. I love it. I love talking to people about this because I feel like it's nice to have other people that are like, oh yeah, we're doing this too, or we're on this train too.
Yes.
So that's so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to put some resources in the link links for resources in the bio. Is there anything that you would like to share with our guests as we wrap up?
Yes, absolutely. I have a top 10 kitchen swap infographic, because again, step by step, right, is the key. And so it just kind of gives you like huge impact, and every one trade that you make for a cleaner product or a better choice does make a bit, like, it does matter. So if you only do one thing right now, that's great. Do the one thing. So the kitchen swap it would be at jm.coach/egg sperm, because why wouldn't it be egg sperm? To really get you going in the kitchen. And there's some things on there that sometimes we don't think to look at. And that's why I made that.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us. We'll have that in our show notes, and I look forward to hearing all of your amazing tips this week. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
Was that an amazing episode or what? Make sure to check our show notes so that you can link up with our guests. And if you're not a part of our secret Fertile AF community, you can join for free via the link in our show notes. Last but not least, have you showed us some love lately? It would mean the world to us if you could share and review our podcast. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Egg Meets Sperm. Peace.